Argentina's economy has faced numerous challenges over the years, but the situation has become especially dire in recent times, leading to what many are calling a full-scale economic collapse. Firstly, thank you for watching and don't forget to smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell for more global finance uncovered, as we continue to work hard and around the clock to always deliver and improve on our content for you. We would greatly appreciate your additional support by you clicking the like button, notification bell, and subscribe button and joining our channel's growth. The country, which has long struggled with inflation and debt, is now grappling with an economic crisis of unprecedented magnitude. The inflation rate has soared past 100%, drastically reducing the purchasing power of the Argentine peso. This hyperinflation has made it difficult for ordinary citizens to afford basic necessities, and many are now living in poverty as the cost of living continues to rise. The collapse of Argentina's economy is not just a consequence of domestic policies, but is also influenced by external factors. The country has faced significant challenges in managing its foreign debt, leading to multiple defaults over the past few decades. The most recent negotiations with the International Monetary Fund (IMF) have been particularly contentious. The IMF has imposed strict austerity measures as a condition for providing financial assistance, but these measures have only deepened the economic pain for many Argentines. The combination of high inflation, a shrinking economy, and heavy debt obligations has created a vicious cycle that the government seems unable to break. The devaluation of the peso has led to a dramatic increase in poverty and unemployment across the country. Many businesses, unable to cope with the rapidly rising costs of goods and services, have been forced to shut down. This has resulted in a significant loss of jobs, further exacerbating the already dire economic situation. The unemployment rate has skyrocketed, and those who are still employed often find that their wages have not kept up with inflation, leading to a decline in real income. The social safety net is stretched thin, and the government's ability to provide relief is severely limited. One of the most visible signs of Argentina's economic collapse is the widespread social unrest. Protests have become a common sight in Buenos Aires and other major cities, with citizens taking to the streets to express their frustration with the government's handling of the crisis. These protests often turn violent, reflecting the deep anger and despair felt by many Argentines. The government's attempts to quell the unrest with police force have only fueled further resentment, creating a volatile situation that shows no signs of abating.
The impact of the economic collapse has been particularly harsh on Argentina's middle class, which has historically been a source of stability in the country. Many middle-class families have seen their savings wiped out due to the devaluation of the peso and the collapse of the financial system. The erosion of the middle class has profound implications for the future of Argentina, as it undermines the social fabric and increases the risk of political instability. With the middle class shrinking and poverty levels rising, the gap between the rich and poor in Argentina is widening, leading to increased social tensions. The agricultural sector, a crucial component of Argentina's economy, has also been hit hard by the crisis. Farmers are struggling with the rising costs of inputs like fertilizer and fuel, which are often priced in dollars. The government's export taxes on agricultural products have further squeezed farmers, who are already dealing with lower yields due to poor weather conditions. This has led to a decline in agricultural exports, which are a major source of foreign currency for Argentina. The collapse of the agricultural sector has not only deepened the economic crisis, but also threatens the country's food security. In response to the crisis, the Argentine government has implemented a series of emergency measures, including price controls, currency restrictions, and increased social spending. However, these measures have been largely ineffective in addressing the root causes of the crisis. Price controls have led to shortages of basic goods, while currency restrictions have made it difficult for businesses to operate in the global market. Increased social spending has provided some relief to the poorest citizens, but it has also added to the government's already heavy debt burden. The international community has watched Argentina's economic collapse with growing concern. Neighboring countries fear that the crisis could have spillover effects on their economies, particularly through reduced trade and increased migration. Argentina's economic troubles have also raised alarm bells in global financial markets, with investors wary of the country's ability to service its debt. Some have called for a more coordinated international response to help stabilize Argentina's economy, but so far, efforts have been limited. The human cost of Argentina's economic collapse cannot be overstated. The crisis has led to widespread hunger and malnutrition, particularly among children. The healthcare system, already under strain, is struggling to cope with the increased demand for services as more people fall into poverty. Education has also been affected, with many schools unable to afford basic supplies and teachers going unpaid. The long-term impact of this crisis on Argentina's future generations could be devastating, as children growing up in poverty are less likely to achieve their full potential.
Looking ahead, the path to recovery for Argentina is fraught with challenges. The government will need to implement deep structural reforms to address the underlying issues that have led to the collapse, but such reforms will be politically difficult and socially painful. Restoring confidence in the peso, reducing inflation, and managing the debt burden are all critical tasks that will require careful and sustained effort. The international community may need to play a larger role in supporting Argentina's recovery, but ultimately, the responsibility lies with the Argentine government and people to find a way out of this crisis. The economic collapse in Argentina is not just a financial crisis, it is a profound humanitarian emergency that has devastated communities across the country. With inflation continuing to soar, the cost of living has become unbearable for most citizens. Basic necessities such as food, medicine, and fuel have become prohibitively expensive, leading to a situation where even middle-class families are struggling to make ends meet. Many are turning to barter systems, exchanging goods and services directly to survive, as the value of the peso continues to plummet. This return to a barter economy highlights the severity of the crisis and the loss of confidence in the national currency. The political implications of Argentina's economic collapse are equally dire. President Alberto Fernandez's administration has faced intense criticism for its handling of the crisis, with opposition parties gaining momentum as public dissatisfaction grows. The government's response, which has included populist measures like price freezes and wage increases, has failed to address the underlying structural problems. Instead, these measures have often exacerbated the situation by leading to shortages and further inflation. The lack of a coherent economic strategy has led to a crisis of leadership, with many Argentines losing faith in their government's ability to guide the country out of this catastrophe. One of the most tragic aspects of Argentina's economic collapse is the impact on public health. Hospitals and clinics, already underfunded and overstretched, are now on the brink of collapse. Essential medical supplies are in short supply, and healthcare workers are leaving the country in search of better opportunities abroad. This brain drain has left Argentina's healthcare system in a state of disarray, unable to meet the needs of a population increasingly suffering from the effects of malnutrition, stress, and preventable diseases. The COVID-19 pandemic, which further strained the healthcare system, has compounded these issues, leaving Argentina in a state of health emergency.
Argentina's educational system has also been deeply affected by the economic collapse. Schools across the country are struggling to stay open as funding dries up and teachers' salaries fail to keep pace with inflation. Many educators have joined the growing wave of emigration, leaving the country's students without experienced instructors. The lack of resources has led to a decline in the quality of education, with many students unable to access basic learning materials or even attend school regularly due to transportation costs. This educational crisis is creating a lost generation of young Argentines who may not have the skills or opportunities to contribute to the country's recovery in the future. The economic collapse has also had a significant impact on Argentina's cultural sector. With disposable income shrinking, spending on arts and entertainment has plummeted. Many theaters, museums, and cultural institutions have been forced to close their doors, unable to survive in such a harsh economic environment. This loss is not just economic but cultural, as Argentina has long been known for its vibrant art scene, which is now under threat. The decline in cultural activities has further eroded the social fabric of the country, leaving many Argentines feeling a deep sense of loss and despair. Another critical issue rising from Argentina's economic collapse is the growing wave of emigration. As the crisis deepens, more and more Argentines are choosing to leave the country in search of better opportunities abroad. This exodus is particularly pronounced among young professionals and skilled workers, who see little future in a country mired in economic turmoil. The loss of this talent is a significant blow to Argentina's prospects for recovery, as the country is losing the very people it needs to rebuild its economy. For those who remain, the departure of friends and family members adds to the sense of hopelessness and isolation. The collapse has also led to a significant increase in crime rates, particularly in urban areas like Buenos Aires. As poverty levels rise and desperation grows, more people are turning to crime as a means of survival. Petty theft, robbery, and even violent crime have become more common, creating an environment of fear and insecurity. The police force, underfunded and overstretched, is struggling to maintain order, and public trust in law enforcement is eroding. The rise in crime is yet another symptom of the broader social breakdown caused by the economic collapse, further complicating the path to recovery.
Argentina's economic collapse has also had ripple effects beyond its borders, particularly in neighboring countries. Argentina has long been a significant player in the South American economy, and its collapse has disrupted trade and investment flows across the region. Countries like Brazil and Chile, which have close economic ties with Argentina, are feeling the effects of reduced exports and diminished consumer demand. The crisis has also led to an increase in migration from Argentina to these neighboring countries, creating additional pressures on their economies and social systems. The regional impact of Argentina's collapse underscores the interconnectedness of South America's economies and the broader implications of the crisis. International organizations, including the IMF and the World Bank, have expressed concern about the long-term consequences of Argentina's economic collapse. While emergency loans and financial assistance have been provided, these measures are seen as stopgaps rather than solutions. There is a growing recognition that Argentina needs deep, structural reforms to address the root causes of its economic problems. However, implementing such reforms is politically challenging, as they often involve painful austerity measures and significant changes to the country's economic model. The international community is watching closely, but there is skepticism about whether Argentina's political system can deliver the necessary changes. As Argentina faces one of the darkest chapters in its history, there is a glimmer of hope that the crisis could lead to a broader rethinking of the country's economic and political systems. Some economists and political analysts argue that the collapse could be an opportunity to implement long overdue reforms and build a more sustainable and equitable economy. However, this will require a level of political will and social cohesion that has been lacking in the past. The road to recovery will be long and difficult, and the scars of this crisis will be felt for years to come. For now, Argentina remains in the grip of an economic collapse that has upended the lives of millions and reshaped the nation's future.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to smash that subscribe, like, and notification bell for more global finance uncovered.